Hi, everyone, and welcome to Café IBTTA. I'm Pat Jones. My guest today is JJ Eden. JJ is the Executive Director of the North Carolina Turnpike Authority and serves on the IBTTA Board of Directors. JJ has a very distinguished career in the toll industry that spans almost 5 decades. He served as the Assistant Chief Engineer for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, was one of the founders of the EasyPass group, was ETC Director for Lockheed Martin ACS, and Chief Operating Officer for the North Carolina Turnpike Authority. Before taking his current position, JJ was Vice President and Director of Tolling and Managed Lanes for AECOM. JJ is one of the founding members of the Alliance for Toll Interoperability, a major force in the advancement of ETC interoperability in North America. In 2017, JJ received the highest honor that IBTTA can bestow on any individual when he received the Honorary Member designation. JJ, welcome to Café IBTTA. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Pat. It's great to be here.
Well, I have a shout out as we begin. Thanks to Benton Tempest and all the good people at Northwest Parkway for this beautiful etched glass mug, which I'm drinking out of today. And also thanks to Northwest Parkway for this lovely water bottle. I'll probably be drinking out of this later on today. All right, we are taking your questions. Please use the chat function on your screen to ask questions at any time or make comments. And we encourage you to set your chat function to all panelists and attendees. The default position is all panelists. We ask you to set it to all panelists and attendees. Well, let's get right into it, JJ. Let's talk about technology. You are a self-described technophile, or for the layman, a technology geek. You've owned a couple of Teslas. You've got the Tesla SUV now. You like gadgets. And before we hear from you, I want to bring the audience into the conversation here. So let's everybody get tested here on your ability to use the chat function. I want to ask you a question. Tell us, what is your favorite technology? And also, what is your least favorite or perhaps most irritating technology? Put a 1 next to your favorite technology, put a 2 next to your least favorite or more irritating technology. Just a word or phrase. Tell us what it is. All right, we've got some responses here. We're asking people to tell us their favorite technology with a 1 and their least favorite or most irritating technology with a 2. I'm seeing a lot of smartphone for both favorite as well as irritating. Yep, iPhone, PS4, Alexa, loudspeaker, wow, Zoom, commuting. All right, this is great. Tesla, excellent. EasyPass, iPhone, AirPods. Okay, different technologies for transponders. That's somebody's least favorite. Red light cameras, another least favorite. Oh, this is great. We got a good group here. All right, keep those comments coming in, and we will come back to them in a little while. But for now, JJ, talk to us about technology investments in North Carolina. You've done some things to sort of go beyond the traditional technology vendors and suppliers in the industry. Talk to us about some of the things you're doing in North Carolina.
Well, Pat, the industry is changing. As Lev just posted to one of the articles I had on LinkedIn, he's working with the IBTTA on a couple of smart businesses side. Industry is rapidly changing, and we're trying to make sure that North Carolina is positioned for these changes as we move forward. You know, we're working with some of the traditional vendors like CAPS and TransCore, but we're also bringing in others like Amazon. We're looking at delivering our transponders through Amazon, Wejo. We're pulling smart data off the vehicles to try to figure out during COVID, you know, where our traffic was and where it's going. SAS to look at data analytics. Snowflake, which I don't know how many people know, but they're one of the data people from one of the big games. So we're bringing all this advanced technology together in order to, in the future, serve our customers better and reduce our costs so we can serve our customers better. So, I really see some of the other things we're doing that aren't as technologically related. Our marketing company, we've moved to virtual public meetings, for instance. So, there's a lot of different pieces that not just stand alone, but they all come together as a system. We're trying to develop a collaborative platform that multiple vendors can compete against. So open up competition to reduce cost and use some of the advanced technologies that other people are using, like the Amazons, the Apples, the Googles of the world in their call centers and their back offices. So it's been a little challenging at times to bring people in to look at this stuff. We're also looking at a multi-cloud platform in order not to be locked into one cloud platform because the pricing scenario looking out further with big data is kind of iffy at the moment. So we're looking at trying to develop a multi-cloud architecture and an overall platform to bring all these technologies together into one system. Overall, I'm really think that with mobile payment coming and developing in the vehicles with things like Apple Pay, Google Wallet, SiriusXM's working on something, and about a dozen other companies that probably I'm saying within 5 years, 3 to 5 years, we're going to be looking at, will be a point of sale. Our back offices will look a lot different if it exists at all.
My guest today is J.J. Eden, the Executive Director of the North Carolina Turnpike Authority, and we're talking about technology. We're taking your questions and comments. Please use the chat function and set it to all panelists and attendees. J.J., COVID-19 has had a big impact on the industry. We're seeing a lot of outside the box thinking, and that's a place you like to be. It's forced overnight transition to AET for some agencies. It's caused many people, many businesses to send their people home to work from home and to do things that they didn't think they could do before. When you first arrived in North Carolina, you were inclined to some of that outside the box thinking because you were geographically between EasyPass to the north and Georgia and Florida and SunPass to the south. Talk about some of the things that you did to cope with that opportunity.
Yeah, technologically, we were kind of in the middle. That back then they called us the Gettysburg of tolling because we're between two incompatible toll systems. So we had to do something for our customers in order. Everybody was saying, are we going to be able to use this in EasyPass land? Are we going to be able to use this in Florida? So we kind of nudged the industry a little bit into video tolling. I still get questions on our video shootout. Last week, I had an agency call me and ask me for some of the records out of that video shootout that we did. And, all this is not about technology. It's about the people. It's about the people we have to implement. And I've been really, really lucky in my whole career to have great teams that support this. And we had each other's back in taking these risks. And, even people that are outside tolling, back then, if you remember, we wanted to do multi-protocol, and everybody was threatening lawsuits, and our Attorney General's office, Beth McKay in particular, Deputy Attorney General, she came to our pre-bid, and we wound up bidding a multi-protocol system, which nobody got sued, and we wound up today where we have multi-protocol tags and readers. So we pushed that envelope. We pushed it on the video side. We pushed it on the RFID side in order to make it happen. Was it a little risky? Probably, but something we had to do. And then after we had those pieces, we looked at how about the business rule side? Now that we have this, how do we work with the Floridas, the Georgias, the EasyPasses of the world? And we developed pretty much a manual system. There wasn't a lot of traffic between all of us that we were able to just, manually put together. And the neat thing about it is after I departed, because as you know, I left North Carolina for about 9.5 years, it continued. It continued under the other leadership down there as it moved forward. And actually progressed to where we are today. So I really see that, out of some of these adversities, innovation comes about, right? And I think COVID is actually going to push us into more innovation. People don't want to handle cash as much. We're seeing that all over. Nobody who wants to touch a dollar bill. I think we're going to see more innovation and more drive to all electronic toll collection and mobile payment, in-vehicle mobile payment as we move forward.
When I think about innovation, the name Thomas Edison comes to mind. I want to read you a couple of Thomas Edison quotes and tell me how they resonate with you. Quote number 1 from Thomas Edison: "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And quote number 2: "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." Talk to me about your career in tolling and how those quotes relate to you.
Well, I love inspirational quotes like that. Elon Musk says that not failing is not innovating. So, I've never been afraid of failure. I actually, when I sit down with my teams and talk about how we're going to move things forward, I talk about it's much more risky not to make a decision than to make one and move forward. Always drive forward, because it may not be perfect when you're going forward, but you can make corrections as you go, right? So in order to grow, especially in technology today and business systems today, you have to take risk. You have to take some risk to move forward. And, I've done it my whole career, back from the days when we were trying to put EasyPass together, to Pat working with you on the whole national interoperability front and trying to get everybody on the same page. It's been challenging, but rewarding. Actually, from failures, and I've had enough in my life, right? As we all have, you always learn something. Even if you didn't achieve that goal that you were striving for at that particular time, you learned something. Elon Musk, again, I love his attitude. I probably would not like working for him, but I love his attitude. Is that, when he's trying to land a rocket on a platform, there's 1.5 million ways to fail, and there's only one way to succeed. But every failure brings them closer to that success. And I've seen that in the toll side too.
JJ, I love that attitude. I think of it in terms of nothing is wasted. Whether if you've fallen down, if you've had failures and all kinds of, different things that didn't go your way, it's all learning that prepares you for something else. So I really admire that. Well, we are taking your questions. Please use the chat function and set the setting to all panelists and attendees. And I want to pose a question to you that comes from Ed Regan. Mm-hmm. He says, could you clarify your comment of a few minutes ago about possibly not having a back office at all in 5 years? What replaces it? And do you think these changes will take hold broadly through the toll industry?
Well, what we're looking at doing is, after we get our new cloud-based system up, is to have enough open architecture that any of the system providers on mobile payment can come in and participate. So maybe they're doing, fast food at McDonald's, or Jaguar's doing fuel, or there's a couple of systems now under EasyPass, they're also doing fuel. And they'd also be able to do tolling, with us. So it would open it up so that you'd have our customers would be able to select their vendors as far as who's doing it. It'll be like getting a MasterCard or Visa. So you'd be able, anything that's a payment system, I used to say parking, fast food, tolling. I used to say drive-in movies, but that kind of dates me. But anyway, but
they're coming back. They're coming back.
But so with that, it would move us closer to out of that business and into just basically a point of sale like a Visa or MasterCard. So instead of paying tens of millions of dollars for a system and millions of dollars a month, even for a small system staffing like I would, like I currently do, we'd be able to take advantage and have the companies actually provide that service. And as an added benefit, we've had a generational change in cash. There's not a lot of people carrying cash, even in my generation right now, especially after COVID. This would give the advantage of cross marketing. So, drive the tollway 3 times, get a free fries at McDonald's or whatever. So it would open up that whole commercial aspect of mobile payment and tolling. The other thing that I see happening long term is the gas tax, as we know, is not sustainable, even now. And as we put these payment systems in the vehicle, and the car knows how far it went, what type of road it was on, it knows all that information. It's streaming that data all the time, about a terabyte an hour, actually. And it has a payment system. You can even work with the underbanked and unbanked where, hey, I've driven 20 miles. I want to charge this to whatever, my debit card, my account I've set up with you, MasterCard, Visa. So, it will potentially be accommodating to not only tolling, but advanced technologies like that. And it opens up to the MOS systems that we've been talking about for the last few years.
JJ, here's a question from Andrew Bunn. Speaking of innovation, what near future applications do you see for artificial intelligence in tolling? Things that can or should be implemented in the next 5 years?
Yeah, we're looking at some AI and traffic projections, and because the other thing on ITS with streaming all this data out of the vehicle, there's a neat graphic I just posted that shows a bunch of colored blocks, and they're just laying on a table all mixed up. And then they have them sorted in piles, and then they have them sorted in stacks. So you could see the data. So with all this data coming from our embedded systems that we currently have, our toll systems, our ITS systems, and now the streaming data is out of the vehicles, right? We have to figure out how to analyze it and how to use it more intelligently. And AI is definitely a piece of that. And there's some of the companies we're working with now on developing that model for AI to try to, project our revenues, project where we need to put exits, project, how we need to work better with transit, potentially with BRTs and things like that, and to bring that into bear.
So big development this week from the EasyPass group. They announced that State Road and Tollway Authority in Georgia and the Florida DOT have joined EasyPass, and soon there will be coast to coast or north to south interoperability all up and down the East Coast. Talk to us about that development from your perspective.
I couldn't be more excited. Literally, I spent my whole career, literally decades, working toward interoperability in one form or another, from, cash systems to electronic toll collection to all electronic to, interoperability. I really commend, Nicola and Chris and the people that came before them for laying the groundwork to make this happen. It's a major thing that our customers have wanted. We've heard for years is my cell phone works everywhere. Why can't my tag, right? Pat, this wasn't easy. It wasn't just a technological issue. It was a lot deeper than that, with business rules and everything else. Tim Riley really participated a lot in bringing a lot of them business rules to bear. This has been, it takes an army, and I think this is an army that made it happen. I couldn't be more excited. There's a lot more to do as we advance. I know Florida's looking at some innovative solutions in their next procurements. We're working with a bunch of agencies to share information and advanced technologies we're doing. If anybody's interested in sharing with us, it's agency to agency only. Let me know. I think that we should, share between us so we can learn from each other's successes and failures. So we tend to have the little failures in between, and it'd be nice to keep other people from having the same thing. But it's been phenomenal that we're actually going to have interoperability on the East Coast. And eventually, I'm really confident, I know Texas and their hub is talking to Florida, and they're connecting into Oklahoma, and California is talking to. So we're probably in the not too distant future going to have an interoperable system, which, by the way, will really help enable mobile payment systems. That's what the car companies have been waiting for.
JJ, I think about your comment that it takes an army, and JFK had a wonderful quote. He said that success has 100 fathers, but failure is an orphan. And I think that's certainly the case with EasyPass and interoperability on the East Coast and all across the country, all the regions, that there have been hundreds or thousands of fathers and mothers who put this together, and we salute all of the people who contributed to interoperability. Here's a question from Patrick Watson. Do you see a distributed ledger solutions such as blockchain as a viable solution for interoperability? Would North Carolina consider employing this technology in the future?
I guess the short answer is yes and yes. We are looking a little bit at blockchain right now. We want to get some of the preliminary stuff up first. We've talked to the people within the industry that are big in blockchain. I have one of my consultants, one of my staff members, is a big blockchain advocate. So the short answer is yes. I think that that's going to be part of the mobile payment solution going forward.
Here's a question from Richard Ridings. He's wondering why we still have toll booths, and why don't we digitize license plates? Why does it take so long to install simple solutions to the world's transportation challenges?
License plates, the sovereign immunity of the states. Actually, I'm working right now with our DMV and our North Carolina's new license plate replacement program. And you think tolling is hard and interoperability is hard. I really admire AMVA for taking on a lot of those questions around driver's licenses and license plates. The stack character problem, the fonts, the graphics, all the above. Trying to come up with standards while working with the legislatures in your particular jurisdictions, especially around vanity plates, is a challenge. Now, the new electronic plate, has some promise, but it's expensive. And as everybody knows, DMV budgets are not that good. They tend to be the, on the end of the rope on funding. So.
Here's a question from Chelsea Davis, and thanks everybody for these excellent questions. This is wonderful. How do you see mileage-based user fees or VMT fee programs intersecting with existing toll networks?
I do. We're actually working a pilot with our DOT now and I-95 Corridor Coalition on that, and we've discussed tolling. In the past with ATI, we've looked at a toll pilot between 3 states, a toll pilot, a mileage-based user fee pilot with 3 states using toll systems. Basically what I'm saying is mileage-based user fee is just tolling every road, right? And it's interesting. One of our think tanks in North Carolina just asked that question, what that would take. So, especially as we move, as I talked about before, into mobile payment systems and in-vehicle mobile payment with the payment systems built into the vehicle, and they know how far they've gone and what type of roads and time of day, and they know all that information, it becomes easier, and the infrastructure is already in place, for the payment systems on the toll side.
JJ, Richard Dunn asks, how do you see V2X deploying and its effect on tolling as we know it today?
I think, then that probably comes into with the Tesla, although they're not doing a lot of the vehicle infrastructure, but they're doing a lot of vehicle. I think this is all part of the technological evolution on the automotive side. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, everybody was saying, well, we're not going to see electric vehicles. We're not going to see, V2V, V2X. too much, the feds won't approve it. And that some people just did it. And I think that's what's happening now. So with all this technology built into the vehicle, it's just evolving with it. So the hard part is paying for the X side of the infrastructure. You know, how do we connect to that and how we do that? Now, with a lot of cities looking at IoT and bringing that together, and the driving force on that pretty much is home automation and things like that. Smart meters for your electric, smart meters for your water, where they're monitoring if your water is still running for long periods of time. You know, so that's all coming together, and I think it's all going to merge within the next 10 years or so.
Ralph Manzano asks, single occupant vehicles are the ultimate in social distancing. Do you see a resurrection of SOVs with the decline of transit? And with the and do you see an associated increase in toll and gas tax revenues?
I really see, I think for a while you're going to see, we're looking at, we have a study going now on the impacts of you know, work at home, you know, because one of our roads was pretty much a big commuter road to our Research Triangle Park. And you know, the impacts of transit on that. Are people going to still use the buses, or they're going to use the Ubers and the Lyfts of the world, or are they going to want to be more social distanced? You know, I think at least for a while, I think COVID's probably going to be around for a few years in one form or another. You're going to see the single occupancy or family occupancy vehicle. I don't think there's a lot of one person vehicles right now. I think it's, you know, we always have our spouse or our kids or somebody with us. You're going to see more of that. And on the revenue side, I hope it comes back. We talked to the secretary this morning, and DOT statewide is almost back. We're over 100% in our Charlotte roads as far as back from pre-COVID, but on our Raleigh roads, we're still down about 30%. And I think that's mostly because of work at home.
Somebody relatively new to the industry, Brian Simmons says, do you have tips or resources for someone that is new to the tolling industry? The Toll 101 series is great, and I was wondering if there is more out there. JJ, let me just do a short stop here and say, yes, someone from the IBTTA staff, maybe me, will call you and get you engaged. There's a toll immersion program that's happening this year that involves a mentor and protege program. There's a young professionals group. We have lots of resources, and I bet even JJ would give you a call to
Absolutely,
you know, lend you some of his 50 years of experience in the industry. JJ, what would you say to Brian?
Yeah, that's probably one of the top questions I get from people moving into this industry or getting into this industry is, where is there a book or something that I can read? And by the way, I did publish a book, co-publish a book. There's one out there.
Hey, plug the book. Plug the book. Come on.
On the history
free time here.
But you know, it's evolving so fast that the best thing to do is get a network. You know, IBTTA is a great network, right? Get some people, take advantage of Pat and the people he can connect you to. And if you want, I'll connect you to people too. That's how we learn. That's how we learn what works and what doesn't work. And, you know, where you can stick your neck out and where maybe you should just not touch the surface because it's too hot, right? So I think that's the best way. A lot of the historical stuff is not as relevant as it used to be. We're moving that fast.
Right, right. Here's a nice thought from Ed Regan, having perhaps the second longest career in tolling. I think he's talking about himself. I find it inspiring that the guy with probably the longest career in our industry, JJ Eden, has become one of our best visionaries and spokespersons of future changes in our business. Here's to you, JJ.
Thanks, Ed. That's very nice.
JJ, I'm going to take a short pause while we do a couple of announcements and promos, and then we'll come right back.
Okay.
So while we do this, I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. So if you go to the homepage of IBTTA, this is what you're going to see. And then if you click on events right there, This will take you to the events page of IBTTA, and you can see all of our upcoming events. So I want to especially call people's attention to this Thursday. We've got a webinar. It's called Keeping Pace, the Financial Effects of a New Travel and Commuting Landscape on Toll Agencies. So that's tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And then this weekend, Sunday, is our Maintenance, Engineering, and Roadway Operations Workshop. It's the first time we've taken one of our big workshops and done it entirely virtually. It starts on Sunday evening with a virtual bourbon drink making exercise. And then we have 10 hours of programming on Monday and Tuesday that includes both general sessions and breakout sessions. Please go to the website now and register. If you haven't registered, it's free. And we encourage you to tell everybody in your organization to register for this event. You don't have to attend everything. You can pick and choose. We have an app on your phone, and there's an app on the website that will help you. And again, please check out the events calendar on the IBTTA website that you can see on the screen right here. It'll be a big help to you. We're offering a lot of programming. Well, JJ, thank you so much for being our guest today on Café IBTTA. I think this has been eye-opening for a lot of people, and you bring so much knowledge and wisdom to the industry. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat. It's great to be part of this, and part of IBTTA for so many years, and we've seen a lot of transition, and I know COVID's hard on not only agencies, but IBTTA also, and trying to find a new path forward. And I'm confident that it will work, and I'm here to help any way I can. Having a common group together to answer questions like somebody new coming into the industry, or what's happening with COVID in your state and what kind of recovery has been invaluable. So thanks, Pat, for keeping it together, and all the staff at IBTTA. As I said, it's all about people.
That's exactly right. Samuel Johnson, our president, often says it's all about family. Speaking of Samuel, yesterday on a webinar, he talked about the statement IBTTA made on our commitment to address racial and social injustice. We've created a task force on diversity, social and racial inclusion. If anybody listening to my voice now is interested in participating in that task force, please send me an email, and we'd like to get you involved. Once again, JJ, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody in IBTTA, thank you for joining us. Please be safe, keep in touch, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.